Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Habaita. Today, I am so excited to be joined by Shelly Lotan, who is the CEO and co-founder of Medium Well. So, welcome to the podcast, Shelly.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
When I hear Medium Well, my first thought goes to a steak. So, I know that is not exactly what you have built. So maybe you could go ahead and just share what Medium Well does and kind of what the problem is that you guys are solving.
Well, first of all, you're not alone. Everyone thinks of steaks when you say our name. But yeah, it's related in a more geek way. We won't get into that.
Okay.
But what we're dealing is how to support the industry's effort to bring more sustainable proteins to the market that eventually can become steaks. Like it was
Wow.
a concept of cultivated meat and different plant-based ingredients. So we want to support that by making the process of producing these alternative proteins more cost effective and scalable.
I'm so fascinated in this because in my age now, I have to be eating a lot of protein. And actually,
Me
I just
too, me
went for
too.
my annual, and my doctor's like, "How many grams of protein are you eating?" And I'm for sure not eating enough. And I find it actually quite difficult that I started for the first time in my life making protein shakes and trying to find protein in other ways. So, yes, I totally understand the importance of creating protein. So, how do you guys go about this without using actual, you know, protein from animals, etc.?
So I'm there with you. I'm on the protein struggle. uh, yeah. So our solution is sorry. Our solution is for the purification and processing part of it. We're not producing proteins ourselves. We help create more proteins with a solution that is basically an isolation step, a purification solution for protein. And how does it work? We use byproducts from plant-based sources like apples, different kinds of vegetables that are processed, and there is a lot of pumice, a lot of waste. We make them perform like magnets. So we make these tiny particles that can catch proteins like magnets. It works according to charge. And
Okay.
these proteins can come from different waste streams, like from dairy, whey, or from plant whey, from peas, from soy. There are a lot of proteins that today are just going to waste because it's very expensive to process. So we take these two waste streams and we make them become basically a gold ingredient. So because
So,
all of us are chasing fibers and proteins, and together
okay,
it becomes,
that's
yeah.
really cool. So maybe just explain to me a little bit more about what you mean by the waste, like you're taking from factories that are not using specific components when they're creating cheese or cottage cheese as an example on the dairy side, and they're kind of throwing those out, and then you take those and turn those into actual usable proteins.
Yeah, a lot of food
Wow.
producers from dairy industry, for example, are not underutilizing different kinds of waste streams. Whey today, I don't know if you noticed, has skyrocketed in terms of
Yes,
prices. Everyone is
yes,
chasing proteins like both of us.
yes.
So there are streams of acid whey, for example, which are relatively containing low percentage of proteins. It's like the leftovers after they already
Leftovers.
produced cheese, and but
Wow.
those streams still contains those low percentage of proteins. So we can take those fibers that are produced from, as I told you, from plant sources. We make them magnetic. This is our IP. And when we stir it with those acid whey that would usually just go to waste, we create a fiber enriched with protein. This becomes a very interesting ingredient and very nutritional.
So you get the fiber and the protein.
Exactly. We have another product that is more advanced that we can also separate it from the fiber and get a higher purity of protein, but it depends on what the manufacturer really requires.
So are these then turned into supplements? Are they then provided to different manufacturers to add in more protein on their ends and their recipes? What is your
So,
model?
so all of the above, basically, we can provide it as a fiber-enriched protein for protein bars, for different kinds of products. And for manufacturers that requires a higher purity, they can also become even a part of infant formula or whatever you want to achieve. We also provide a solution for more novel ingredients, like the ones that are now being produced with precision fermentation, or plant-based sources that they eventually need to isolate and purify a specific protein or ingredient from this process. So
Okay.
it goes to different kinds of applications.
So, I mean, it's so fascinating, especially the use of magnets in this. So, how did you come up with this idea?
Well, first of all, it's not real magnets. It's just the metaphor to make you understand how a material can bind other molecules. So it's electric charge. We came with this idea basically by just going back to nature, because all of us exchange molecules with different charges, and we have this we have this capability. Yeah, my daughter just returned from school. So we have these properties, plants have them, and we just found a way to utilize them in a more enhanced way and make them compatible for industrial use. So this emerged from a research that was started at the Hebrew University, and we took over and made it industrial.
That I love that. I'm hearing so many ideas that come from the universities, that come from these studies and then are commercialized. And I think it's fabulous. It's unbelievable. So where right now, first of all, do you have to have machinery for this? What's involved in this process?
Well, this is another nice aspect of this idea, that it requires low machinery. It doesn't require anything too advanced. Basically, to produce the bioresin itself, the magnetic fibers, we just need some kind of equipment that is usually used for processing different powders or different plant ingredients, and they exist in supplement factories. Or so we are using CMOs that already have the equipment.
You already
And
have
in order to mix it with the dairy product or any kind of stream that has the target protein, we just need steering tanks and basic equipment that does this mixing and binding everything up together.
wow. So basically they could use their own equipment already, right?
Most facilities have
That's
steering tanks
unbelievable.
and base, yeah.
Wow, that's a huge strategic advantage for sure. And in terms of the supplements, so you've decided then, okay, let us also create these supplements that we can then sell to the market. Are you B2C as well with that?
Not at this point. It's
Okay.
it's a little too advanced for us. We focus on creating the fiber, the enrichment process. We're now working on strategic collaborations with potential distributor that then could sell this to the
Sell it
market.
to different vitamin companies that could use it, right? And supplement
Exactly.
companies. That's
Right.
amazing. Oh, wow. Okay. Such a great way to easily get some additional protein for sure. Just by
Yeah.
taking,
Yeah.
and I love as well that it's recycling things that we're going to be going to waste. And here you're saving, I
Exactly.
can't
It's
even
this.
imagine how many tons of, what you're saving and being able to reuse. It takes recycling to a whole new level.
Exactly. It's the perfect circular economy that everyone is
Exactly.
seeking. And as you said, we're all chasing proteins and just thinking about millions of dozens of liters of proteins just wasted. And on the other hand, fibers are also something very valuable. And also those byproducts are not utilized today. So just by combining the two of them together in a simple process, it creates a treasure that we can enjoy.
Really, it really is a treasure. That's unbelievable. So Shelley, tell me a little bit about, what has been one of the hardest things so far, because you've been doing this for several years now, right? How long has it been running? I
Uh,
saw
yeah, since the end of 22.
22.
Uh,
Amazing.
Yeah, back
So
then
what,
it was sorry,
go ahead,
back
go
then
ahead.
it was booming around food tech, and everyone were just spilling huge investments on cultivated meat and different, and we were all very optimistic. But since then, several things have happened. Food tech slowed down, unfortunately, and also the instability here in Israel, and we
Mm,
also have happened to be lucky to be located at the north part of Israel. So after October 7th, we had to evacuate our labs.
really? Where,
Um,
where are your labs?
so we evacuated from Kiryat Shmona, which was right next to
Oh,
the border,
Kiryat
to
Shmona.
yeah, that was the original site. So we moved those after the war started, northern, about 1 hour north south to that location. And you won't believe it, but just before the recent war with Iran, we moved back north, and we thought, yeah, it
Oh,
would be a
you're
great
fine.
opportunity. Just everything will be fine. It's been quiet for a while, but then this war started again. So this time we didn't evacuate, but this really doesn't help a startup continue. But we're continuing regardless of everything that happened. We have a very resilient team, very devoted to the mission, and also a great ecosystem here that always helps one another. So we're on our way. You asked about the most difficult part. Well, it's now we're in there. It's called the death valley for
Wow.
startups.
Yes.
Usually that's when you try to move from lab to the
Mm,
market, to just enter the market and validate and show and scale up.
yeah.
And we're struggling with that, but we have very good pilot projects that are starting to gain momentum and very good validation results. And as I mentioned, we're now working with strategic partners that will help us get there even faster. So yeah, it's not easy, but we're there.
Easy. And it takes a whole different set of skills to then go from developing and understanding the science behind what you're doing to actually going and selling it into the market. So and
Exactly.
most companies at this stage are really struggling and go through a little bit of a new growth, it's like almost like a new growth spurt, right? And bringing in different people and different brains and different minds and different consultants to help and then help you get to that next level. So I totally get it. And it definitely is a struggle, but I'm sure what you're doing is so needed. Do you have a lot of competition in this space? Like, what are other companies doing to combat this problem?
Well, there are different approaches to recycling things, but actually, we started with a more complex, more advanced solution that we were talking to companies more about the purification, reaching a very high purity level of proteins with a reusable processing aid as a start. And there are a lot of huge corporates that are offering this kind of solution, different advanced filtrations, advanced resins. That's the name in the industry that can reach very high purity levels, but usually those are designed for pharma and they're not accessible for food, which require lower cost, very large scale. So in this gap, we're pretty unique. And also now that we started even lowering the cost while speaking about the enriched fiber that doesn't reach a very high purity of the protein, but it's on itself a very interesting product and it is even lower cost and a simpler process. That's a big advantage that we don't see currently someone really offering something like this.
Yeah. And so do you have contracts in place with the factories that are, to purchase their, leftovers, as you called it? How does that
So
process work?
yeah, so you're touching this challenge again. We're just exactly at this point that we're trying to reach those contracts.
Okay,
Yeah,
got
it's not easy, but now that we can already show
I thought I turned my phone off, but I turned it on. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
So now that we can show small scale, very successful validation, and we're talking to a lot of companies that are very interested, we are right on the verge of I believe, getting those contracts that will enable us to demonstrate larger commercial pilots and then move on to commercial
And is
production.
the plan to have that based here in Israel, or are you planning to have it in different locations around the globe? What are your thoughts on
So
that?
yeah, actually, one of our partners that we're starting a pilot is a very advanced dairy manufacturer here in Israel. Actually, one of our investors is the largest dairy producers here in Israel. So it's definitely a market, but it's a small one. So it's a good beta site. It's a good start to show our to validate our potential, and then we look to expand into North America and Europe and other markets.
Wow, that's amazing. That's unbelievable. So how much of the leftovers do you need to purchase to let's say, put it in one company's protein bars, let's say?
Well, let's start with that. We don't need to purchase. Most of the producers
Okay.
are just happy to get rid of those byproducts and not
Correct.
pay for the disposal. So
Right,
that's
right.
like
Oh,
a great,
very good point. Very good
yeah,
point. Yeah. Yes.
exactly.
You're
So
like
we're
solving
taking,
a big problem for that just by taking it. Absolutely.
right, yeah. So we start with that, and we need quite big amounts to fulfill the demand. This is exactly the point that we're talking to manufacturers to understand what will be the first products, but those are that it can be millions of tons at the end of the way.
Wow. Wow. And is there a time when you're like, well, we're finding more protein than we usually do, or is it pretty consistent every time you guys are running?
So acid whey, for example, usually are the leftovers from producing yogurt or this feta
Okay.
cheese.
Hmm.
Those usually contain different kinds of concentrations, but overall they are very low.
Oh,
So when we speak to different dairy manufacturers or farms, we usually know what will be the average and we know what we can capture from there. So this is how we can design the solution that fits into there and what kind of enrichment we can get for our fiber. Overall, we usually get to like a ratio of 30% protein, 70% fiber, and we can play with it also according to the end application, what we want to do with that ingredient.
my, I cannot wait till, when you guys are in specific products, please make at least one kosher that I could eat. Okay, because I
Absolutely.
the fiber and the protein, and I know all my friends are struggling with this too. So I really, it's clearly a problem that we just need, and I'm sure also, when it comes to children as well, just getting their protein in, instead of, eating the candy and drinking the sodas, it's not an easy, feat. So to be able to put it within other things that they do enjoy and to give them that
Right.
fiber, give them that protein within food, like you said, and not just within pharma is phenomenal. Like I cannot wait. I think
So
it's gonna be,
we
yeah.
share all the same problems, right? You just saw
Yeah.
my daughter back there coming back from school. So I struggle with pushing protein somewhere into her diet. So yeah, definitely.
It used to be vegetables. That was the big thing. And I remember I used to blend them and like make pancakes, right? But now I always ask my kids, and they're older, but still I ask them, did you have did you have at least 25 to 30% protein on your plate, right?
Right.
Is it at dinner at least with 50% of your plate? So it's hard, especially if they don't like chicken and they don't like fish. It becomes a big challenge. One of my
It
kids
is.
wants to eat meats, and it's obviously not healthy to just eat meats, right? So it's definitely a challenge, and I think this is a problem that you're solving that I cannot wait for it to get into all these different food items and even the protein bars, like you're saying, which do not taste so great, right? But I'm sure with your different solutions and your partnerships, it could be phenomenal. And maybe is that a process that you get to be involved with as well, is kind of choosing which products you'd love to be involved with based on the ones that you love, based on the ones that you know are popular.
Exactly. Yes. This is exactly the discussion that we're having right now with different manufacturers, trying to find the best fit. Yeah.
Cereal, for sure, cereal is a great one,
Yeah.
right?
Those are usually using very low quality fibers, like from corn. And
Exactly,
if that could be
exactly that.
replaced,
Sure. I remember growing up, I grew up in Toronto, and there was always 2 scoops of raisins in a package of Kellogg's Raisin Bran. I don't, whoever is from Canada knows what I'm talking about. And I remember researching because the Raisin Bran was like the cereal that you were supposed to have to get your fiber, right? And it
right.
was so filled with sugar. I can't even tell you that back in the
Oh,
day, it
sorry.
was such a challenge. And I still think cereals have a long way to go. Cornflakes,
Right.
all of these cereals that everyone's eating, they don't have enough fiber and they definitely don't have protein. So, I mean, this would be incredible. So, yes, I'm
And the
excited.
ones that allegedly have more nutritional values are super expensive or they're not
Yes.
really what they claim. So yeah, there are a lot of room for improvement there. I
And
agree.
they're probably mostly sold in the health food stores, and not everyone can afford those, right? So I
Exactly.
agree 100%. So even just like, working with some of these large food production companies that are producing lots of things, cereal, snacks, etc. I could see this being huge and helping so many people. And I love that this came from Israel. And again, the concept of this Israeli innovation and ideas, like you said, lots of them are doing it in pharma. Nobody's really doing it in food production. And how this is going to help the world is unbelievable, Shelley. So really, kol hakavod to you. I wish you only the best of luck. It was such an absolute pleasure to meet you and to speak with you today. Thank you for joining Habaita.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and your support. Thank you.